The two best teams in the NBA squared off in Boston tonight, and it lived up to the hype. A big, big overtime win for the Boston Celtics. Come lock in with us here on Green with Envy, and let's recap it all. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another episode of Green with Envy, post-game recap, showdown of the top two teams in the NBA. As always, it's your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? And joining me today to break it all down as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the cozy one, Greg Manakis is in the building. How you doing?
How you doing, you fat piece of shit? You fucking loser. Shout out Stephen A. Smith. Holy shit.
Oh man, I don't know what was more entertaining, the Celtics T-Wolves in overtime, or if it was the Stephen A. Smith Jason Whitlock debate that was the kind of side attraction throughout the game. My God, we'll have to touch on that later. We got a lot from this game to get into. First of all, but Greg, Celtics 127, T-Wolves 120 in overtime. Just give me your first thought before we even get to the morning box score. Just give me your first thought.
Oh, man, that was a Jays statement game. Those are the games that, Derek White didn't really have it. He's been struggling. The JJ Redick curse is real. He was struggling. Drew Holiday, he played okay, but this was definitely a Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown game. The takeover in the fourth quarter and overtime, the Jays combined from the field, never mind the free throws, from the field to go 9 for 16 from the field, while Jaylen Brown, and I mean, they were switching on to Edwards, pretty much the two of them, the whole fourth and OT. They held Edwards to 1 for 7 from the field in the fourth quarter and overtime.
Yeah, big night. Let's do what we do here. Let's hop in to a morning box score. Boston Celtics take down the Minnesota Timberwolves in a matchup of the league's best, 127-120. What a night in the Garden. The undefeated home streak is alive. Let's start out here with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Greg, you already mentioned Anthony Edwards. He had 29 points tonight, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, but as you mentioned, got locked up towards the end of the game. Karl Anthony Towns, 25 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals for him. Slow-mo, Kyle Anderson, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Naz Reid with a big 19-piece, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker checking in with 15 as well. For the Celtics, it all starts and ends with the Jays tonight. Let's start with the first one. Let's go with Jaylen Brown, 9 of 16 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, 13 of 13 from the free throw line. Let me say that one more time because we have definitely always questioned Jaylen Brown from the free throw line. 13 of 13, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. 35 points for Jaylen Brown. And let's just go to the bullpen. Let's go get the closer. Jayson Tatum, 13 of 26 from the field, 6 of 11 from 3, 13 of 14 in his own right from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 45 points overall, 26 points in the fourth quarter and overtime for Jayson Tatum. And they had some help sporadically here and there, but this night really was a true statement game from the Jays. And so, Greg, that's only the really place to begin here. Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, they were doing it all tonight. I don't know if there's one or the other you prefer to start talking about, but this is where we're going to start, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm going to leave this box score up here a little bit longer just for anybody that's watching, just so you could admire the beauty of the top two right there at the top of that box score. Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum. I mean, I think the efficiency and the pace that both of them played with at tonight, they didn't rush anything. I think there were a couple moments where the game was kind of hanging in the balance, and I was wondering how both of those guys would react. There's been a lot made of the Celtics crunch time offense. I don't think you could make like, you can't make any stink about what the Celtics did in crunch time in this game. They came back. First of all, I think they were down 7 with a couple minutes left.
Yeah. I
Took
mean, it
the
was
lead.
looking like, based on like the stat lines, or like the betting odds, right? Celtics, I think it was 4 minutes left or so. It's about plus 450 if you want to throw down some skin on the Celtics.
Right. And then, Anthony Edwards has that great drive to the basket, hits the 2 clutch free throws. So the game ends up going to overtime. A lot of crap was given to Jaylen Brown in Minnesota when he took the last shot over Jaden McDaniels. Very similar play. Jayson Tatum just happened to be the guy to take the shot this time, going one-on-one at Jaden McDaniels. Clearly the Celtics didn't learn their lessons there. But, when it came to overtime, Tatum, after Karl Towns, who played great, by the way, that was the best I think I've ever seen Karl
We were going to
Towns
get
play.
to that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Tatum just went to a whole nother level, man. When you ask Tatum to have to guard Towns for a majority of the game, that was his primary matchup for a majority of the game, and the physicality with which Towns plays, he just throws his shoulder into you the entire game. Then he has to switch on to Anthony Edwards anytime they're running a 2-man game with Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum in that action. So you're asking Tatum to be a megastar guarding a center on one end and then being the primary focus of your offense on the other end while being guarded by Jaden McDaniels. And he puts up 45 points in that matchup. Like, what? He's holding his wrist. He's in pain. It's like, these are the games, and Jayson Tatum has been playing like an MVP lately, but these are the games where you realize how lucky we are to have Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. As much as we want to call Derek White an all-star and we want to call Drew Holiday an all-star, Kristaps Porzingis an all-star, these are the superstars. And this is what only superstars can do when nobody else has it. These two guys can step up to the next level. Jaylen does it to a certain degree, and then you don't think it can get better than that. And then Tatum goes
up, right?
level.
Goes over the top
insane.
To that next level. And we told everybody Jayson Tatum's coming, right? This is the Jayson Tatum, run that he's starting right now, where if he's going to get his name in that MVP conversation, it's nights like this, right? Because to your point of what you were just saying, like, it's the Derek White story is amazing. Drew Holiday, what he can do on defense with him being that Ed Reed signal caller, it's amazing. Al Horford at 37, who also had some amazing plays tonight, him being able to be a sixth man and then jump in on a night when Kristaps is out, it's amazing. But when it gets down to brass tacks, you need the Jays to be the Jays in moments like this. And I think a part for me that is a bit, I guess, anecdotal is it felt like probably somewhere around that third quarter, it felt like Ant was starting to really kind of he was making some pretty crazy shots. He was heating up. And it felt like even when the Celtics were getting a little bit of momentum, Ant was like, I got something for you, right? And then I think you mentioned the stat. What was he, 1 of 11 in the
1
fourth
for
quarter?
7. So he was held to only 7 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter and overtime.
Right. And so that's where I think for me, it felt like a sense of pride, right? Like our home winning streak is on the line. The best team in the league is on the line here. And, obviously Jaylen has that Brad Beal, Jayson Tatum type relationship, with Anthony Edwards. So there's also a little bit of hold up. We know Ant's coming. We know Ant is going to be, in this top 10 discussion at some point, 15, whatever. It doesn't really matter right now. But the point is, he's not coming in here to do this to us on our court right now. And I think when you saw it, even on the defensive end, like you mentioned, that the Jays were the ones that were switching between Cat and Ant, right? Like it was almost like, we know we got Holiday, we know we got White, you guys be on the back end, and we saw them kind of cause some havoc and crash some passing lanes. And the Jays stepped up and said, these guys are going to try and run, pick and roll, pick and pop, whatever. Good luck. We feel comfortable with both of these matchups. We're stepping up and taking that. And tonight was just a reminder that you want to play 2-on-2 basketball against the Celtics? Good luck. Good luck. Well,
Yeah.
Like Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are up for it.
Good luck. Yeah, and that's an interesting point you just brought up about the back line of the defense being Drew Holiday and Derek White, right? Where it's like very similar to like a Kyle Lowry, the way that he's able to protect the rim, right? Just by being a positional defender, especially in his heyday. But the way that Spo oftentimes will put Bam at the top of the defense and have the backside actually be smaller guys who just know how to be there and can just be there with high hands. And then you got Derek White, who's one of the best shot blocking guards in the league at the rim. That play that Edwards got fouled on, that was Derek White, who was there in good position. He just kind of, it's Edwards. He's so athletic. Sometimes you foul the guy who's the most athletic freak on the court. And then Drew Holiday as well, as you mentioned, that Ed Reed style of defense that he's playing. But there's a level. I like that what you brought up about Jaylen and Edwards having that mentor-mentee relationship, because one of my favorite parts of the game was just watching their little interactions throughout the game and how much they were talking with each other. And you could tell that Jaylen, at the end of the game when the Celtics were up 5 and he had just played really good defense on Edwards, he started like whispering to him like, "Hey, like, you ready for this?" And then he goes, Edwards misses the 3. And I was like, "Oh, Jaylen, like, you maybe shouldn't have talked that shit right there."
When Jaylen tried to jump that pass lane and missed, I was like, oh my God, we didn't need to do that.
Right. Just play solid defense, man. We don't need the home run dunk at the end of the game. But like Holiday, one of the best defensive guards in the league. Derek White, one of the best defensive guards in the league. They're not the best athletes on the team. The best athletes on the team are Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And when you have a freak like Anthony Edwards, sometimes you need a freak on your end, right? Just getting Stephen A. Smith freaky style. And you're just going mano y mano. If you try to get a switch, I just went from having Jaylen Brown on me to Jayson Tatum, who's 6'10" with long arms, right?
Just whisper in his ear, "You bitch."
You fat piece of shit.
By the way, so we can't help it. If you don't know about the Stephen A. Jason Whitlock content, just look it up. You're gonna enjoy it. Like I said, I honestly don't even know what their beef is about, but Stephen A. Smith is an entertainer to the highest level. It is just grade A cinema. But like, back to this game, Greg, like you said, this game was so important because Derek White has been a Superman, and goddamn, JJ Redick. Apparently the curse is real. The JJ Redick curse is real. Tommy Alter, you're in the mix on this too. 1 of 5 from 3. Drew was 2 of 10. Horford was 3 of 8. I mean, luckily Horford would hit 3 threes. Hauser hit 2 very timely threes, and I think it was either the beginning of the fourth quarter, end of the third quarter. But this was just a night where you needed your stars to
Luke played well too.
And Luke was great. Luke was great tonight. But you needed your stars to be like stars, and this is an easy game that the Celtics, well, first of all, Minnesota had every reason to give up in this game. So kind of kudos to Minnesota, because they flew in at whatever it was, 1 p.m., and then showed up and played without 2 of their starters, and they played a hell of a game. We can talk a little bit about them here in just a second. But this game, with the way it was being officiated, or lack thereof, like, the Celtics had a lot of times where it was like, man, this is just going to be that game where, maybe it's a little bit to the degree, Halliburton's out. Okay, we should have this. Didn't have it. Tonight, they're coming in, not rested. I feel like we got this game. Refs are giving us some shitty calls. I guess tonight's not the night, but they kept finding a way, and it was all led by the Jays.
Yeah, man. I just keep extolling Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown for however long we stream tonight, however long we're potting. I just want to talk about Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like, I'm looking at Al Horford, Derek White, Drew Holiday. They all made their plays. Right. Especially that one play where Tatum misses the free throw, White comes flying in. One of my favorite parts of any game is when I'm like, kind of, my eyes are drawn to the ball, and then all of a sudden there's just a blur that just enters the screen, and it's Derek White. It's always Derek White. Like in that Adam tweeted about this, but there's that one great play in the last game where White, I think he missed a layup and then sprinted back on defense to contest a 3 in transition. Where you had no idea Derek White was even in the play, and he's just running fucking full speed at all times. Goes in, gets the offensive rebound. Jayson Tatum misses. Ball gets kicked to Horford. You expect Horford potentially to shoot that shot, because another thing I like about that play, if you go back and watch it, but Derek White gets the rebound. He gets the rebound, and then the ball gets passed out to Tatum and Brown, are like in the same area, and Jaylen sees Tatum next to him, and he's like, I'm getting the fuck out of the way. Like, this dude is cooking right now. I know my role at this point. Jayson Tatum, take us home. Right. Tatum gets it. Elbow, nail touch. Double team comes from the baseline at a weird angle. He sees that Horford's available for the next pass, makes the right pass. Horford makes the right pass. Who did he pass it to?
It was Holiday.
Holiday, right? That was one of his 2 threes that he made. And that was one of the biggest plays of the game, and Derek White struggled. And this is why, even though Derek White isn't playing to the all-star level, what's great about Derek White is he's always going to be a phenomenal role player, right? Not just an all-star, but a star in his role. And he was able to make plays despite really struggling, especially on the defensive end. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker kind of gave it to him a few times, and you're just
so that was an interesting subplot of this. Is just that, obviously you said Cat played one of the better games I think we've seen him play when we're not the biggest Cat fans, but I thought Cat actually, especially that second half,
he was great.
Was really, really good, and obviously had his moments up until about the fourth quarter in OT, and it felt like the Celtics kind of dug in. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Naz Reid and Kyle Anderson all had different stretches where it was like, is Naz Reid going to miss a three again? Is Nickeil Alexander-Walker just going to be the one that takes us out? And is Kyle Anderson going to slowly Euro step and slow deliver, half fade away, not really fade away, hit the rim three different ways and have shots go in? Is that how we're going to lose this streak, is off these three guys? Because they each had different sections and they were all like, throughout the game, all three of those guys played pretty well, but it did feel like there were condensed streaks within that it was just like, oh, this is apparently the Nickeil Alexander-Walker segment of the program. Like, when did this decide to happen?
Well, he's a really solid defensive player. I just didn't really know that he had the offensive bag that he was showing. A couple great finishes, driving by Derek White, and then
he really won me over in FIBA for Team Canada when he was playing. I really enjoyed watching him during the summer with the FIBA competition.
Yeah, because he was kind of wasting away on the Pelicans for a while, and then he got his chance.
Too many wings,
I forget at what point the T-Wolves inserted him into the lineup, but I really liked what he offered. I think maybe it was when McDaniels went out, when he broke his hand, and they had to kind of put him in there as one of their primary defensive stoppers last year. But I've always liked what he's offered on the defensive end. But back to Derek White, like the charge that he took in transition, where we're drawing the push off when he was just staying up in Nickeil Alexander-Walker's grill, even though he was getting cooked a couple times, right? That's what we love about Derek White. Drew Holiday with the great steal on the double team off of Anthony Edwards. Like, those are the plays that sealed the game, right? He steals the ball, brings it up, makes the right pass to Tatum. Tatum just calmly steps over, takes a three-pointer to seal it, blows kisses to the crowd with the Kobe mean mug face. Like, that was a pretty special game from Jayson Tatum, man. Like, that's all grown up.
Oh, this was a huge game. This like I
but
said,
dude, look at Jaylen's fucking stat line.
Well, that's the crazy part.
11, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the other part I forgot to emphasize when I was doing the morning box score. 3 combined turnovers.
Yeah.
For the two of them. 3 combined turnovers. Like, that's so big for them, especially when you look at them playing against Minnesota, which is, I don't know if they're still the top defense, one of the top 2 or 3 defenses in the entire NBA. I know there's no Gobert and Conley, but that's still, they have a lot of wings, a lot of size that are going to be the ones that are primarily guarding, Tatum and Brown. And, with Tatum, man, just when he goes downhill, good things happen. Like,
he was pissed, dude. He was pissed when they had the jump ball at half court. And
that was ridiculous. That was part of the just ridiculous. Like, I actually because they went right to a commercial pretty soon after, so I just sat at my computer rewinding. I was like, what actually happened on that? Because that looked so weird. And then it was
at first I thought Tatum flopped.
I thought maybe the ref threw the ball like over his head and like only I literally couldn't tell. I was so confused. I was like,
those refs are bad, right. Man. Those refs are really bad.
It was, dude, it all starts with, have you ever seen a block charge at the same time? Like, I've never, it's the, what it reminded me of was when the NFL refs were on strike several years ago, and they had the Fail Mary, where it was one ref called the touchdown, one ref called the interception. Now, that was at the end of the game and literally decided a winner or a loser, but I've never seen 2 refs come together and then be like, all right, just give them both a foul. Like, how does that fucking work? That doesn't make any sense.
I didn't know if the broadcast just got it wrong, if they like didn't know what the call was. So they're just like, I was called a jump ball because we can't decide. Like, no foul was actually called. I don't know.
It sounds like that's the conversation the refs had with each other. Hey, do you want to get it wrong? I don't want to get it wrong. Let's just call it both and call it a day. All right, let's move on.
maybe we should have had them at the Pacers game. they would have actually had a jump ball at half court when it went to Neesmith.
Exactly.
But man, when you think about, and they mentioned this on the broadcast, when you think about the way that this game was played, the pace that it was played, the physicality that the T-Wolves bring on the defensive end. Granted, they didn't have Gobert on the court. They didn't have their point guard, Mike Conley, but I don't think Conley necessarily would have made a difference in this game. Gobert, maybe, just because he's been so good. I think
towards the end, Conley would have, when their offensive possession started to get a little bit ugly. Conley's, at least from the games that I've watched, like, he seems like, okay, we're getting a little bit out of sync here. Like, let me get us back.
Yeah.
To, like, a real, like, that's the only area that I think I look at Conley for.
For sure. But when you think about the way that the Heat guard us, the way that the Sixers are going to have the potential to guard us with some of their handsy wing defenders, um, the Bucks, I don't think much of the Bucks. It'll be interesting to see what happens. We'll be here tomorrow night, by the way, everybody. Post
Come
game
tune back
recap.
in.
We're going to have a pod dropping on the feed. We did a live stream earlier talking about all of the trades that Celtics fans don't want to see happen, like Marcus Smart maybe going to the Bucks or Marcus Smart maybe going to the Sixers. So that's going to be on our pod feed tomorrow as well, as well as this game recap. But I think that the way that the Celtics, specifically Jaylen Brown, was able to handle the pressure, because he was guarded by Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, three really good defenders for majority of the game, and had 2 turnovers and just played at his pace the entire game. That's really impressive stuff. And to your point about Tatum going downhill, when he got upset that Edwards grabbed him on that jump ball, the very next play, he got the ball at the nail, one-on-one with Naz Reid, strong rip to his right hand, like the fastest I've seen Jayson Tatum move all night. And then from that point on, it was Superman mode. It was like he needed that play at half court with the no call to really wake him up to take him to that next level.
Yeah, I really like Naz Reid, but I think it was end of the fourth quarter. Why did Naz Reid chase Jayson Tatum out to half court and just foul him?
Yeah, that was weird, man.
That was a weird play. I was like, I don't know what you're trying to do, and you apparently have no idea of what this. I think we were down 2 at that point, and just gave Jayson Tatum 2 free throws.
Well, what I think it is a mentality that Chris Finch has kind of just instilled in the guys, that they're all going to be physical, they're all going to pressure, and they're going to force you into maybe making a mistake. You would like for your guys like Naz Reid to recognize, 1, I'm not a good perimeter defender, and 2, I don't want to be on an island with Jayson Tatum. Like the moment Jayson Tatum starts running towards half court as you're Naz Reid, or backpedaling towards half court, that's a great opportunity to call somebody up to like switch. You know what I mean? Just like
there's other options besides
here.
just obviously going to go out there and commit a foul.
Right.
Just
But I think that was really smart too. When we talk about the mentality that the Jays had in this game, is that they recognized that the T-Wolves were being handsy. They got them in foul trouble. They didn't rely on threes. They hit some big threes, specifically Tatum, that big step back, sidestep 3 on Towns, and then the game clinching 3-pointer that he hit. But they were aggressive. This is probably the most free throw attempts combined they've taken. And I would imagine 13 for Brown. He was 13 for 13 from the line, 14 for Tatum.
Yeah.
So
26
points.
20,
26 points from the free throw line from them too. Like, that's pretty impressive. And when you think about the way that Jaylen just had 40 points against the Pacers, where it was just mid-range, he had 35 points tonight to go along with 11 rebounds, some big rebounds in crunch time as well. 75 points over the last 2 games for Jaylen Brown. And I think it's pretty safe to say, if the Celtics get 2 All-Stars, these are the guys that are going to be in the All-Star team.
And this is when we always kind of go through the motions of like, what about and Porzingis has a case in his own right. Derek White has a case in his own right. But if it comes down to who are the 2 guys that this team goes through, and who are the 2 guys that make this team go when it matters most, it's going to be the Jays. And that doesn't mean that other guys don't have their roles, but nights like tonight show there's a reason the Jays are the Jays, So anything else that you want to cover? I think I've hit everything that I wanted to get through. Anything else that you wanted to cover before we sign off?
Shout out Peyton Pritchard. I think that he played his role well tonight. Luke Cornett, we gave him a shout earlier. O'Shea Brissett had a nice little 5-minute stint. I thought O'Shea played okay. He had that one really nice possession guarding Anthony Edwards in isolation. I think O'Shea is a guy that I want to see play a little bit more in these playoff type situations. Also want to give a quick shout to Jordan Walsh. Jordan Walsh killing it up with the Maine Celtics, shooting over 41% from 3. If the Celtics are going to make a move for a big wing, before they do that, I would like to see O'Shea Brissett get a little bit more run, really give him a chance. And if it's not going to be Brissett, at least throw Jordan Walsh out there for a quick 10-day stint to see what happens. Maybe we catch lightning in a bottle. But yeah, that's all. The only other things I want to cover. Shout out Jayson Tatum. Shout out Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, fun night, fun game. Celtics 127, T-Wolves 120. Celtics remain undefeated at home. As we said, tomorrow night they're going to Milwaukee, so back to back. This time on the road Going to be very interesting to see how the Celtics respond. Would assume we're going to get KP back in the lineup. Probably no Al. We'll have to see. There was a few other guys that were on the injury report as questionable coming into the game after an OT game back to back. Keep an eye out on the injury report tomorrow. We'll have to see what that looks like. But regardless of who the Celtics have out there, myself, Greg, we'll be right back here. We're doing our own back-to-back. We're out here again tomorrow night, right after the game. So make sure you are locked in, and then we will make sure to post it on the audio feed after. But that's going to do it for tonight. We'll catch y'all tomorrow. And if you're listening on the audio podcast, you're going to get some Black Sheep Optimists?
You're going to get some Black Sheep Optimists. Get this high. Peace, everybody.
Let's go. Peace, y'all.